What are the points of contact between art, science, and technology?
I think there are quite some things which have the same point of starting, but I think there are also a lot of differences. I think the kind of creativity and a creative mind and asking questions is a kind of a point that where we all start with. But I also think that as scientists has kind of a social responsibility. Of course, we artists have that in another way, I think. And I also think that scientists and technology has to react on a kind of a reality, and artists can have all kind of different realities. So we are not so focused on one reality in which we have to find an answer, but we can also have all kind of answers and all kind of options. But of course, we use a lot of technology, and also we sometimes we look at scientists and look at the way they are finding and looking and finding, and that's also a little bit the way we work also. You look and you find and you analyze and you go on and you analyze and you go on.
Please tell us about your fields of research and your project in this field.
Well, we started a long time ago in the field of in physics. We were always, well, a long time already interested in designing a kind of chaotic physical installations. So for us, it was important that there was an installation and that could play its own life. So without us controlling it totally. Of course, you have to control some things that it doesn't fall down or that it isn't dangerous, or always all kind of control, of course. But in a way, we try to find some kind of physical moving pieces which relate a lot on chaotic behavior. And in that way, also the sound results were never the same. So everybody could get into a part of the piece and hear a small part of the piece. But most of these pieces, when they are exhibited for a month or 2 months, they play a composition of 2 months. And everybody will be having a very small part of this long composition, and that is only the result of designing a kind of chaotic behavior into an installation.
Yes, I'll add something too. I think that the research depends very much on a starting idea, and you could say we have a big family of works that work with vibration. So we have a source of vibration, and then the work gets into motion, and then you are maybe searching a kind of sound, or you heard a sound. Like a very good example is the work Canta Nuevo, which is a work where we have glass pieces on a kind of vibrating construction. And this work actually started with an experience we had together when we were on the ferry from Denmark to Norway to build up a work. Because in that ferry you have this shop with the alcohol bottles, and because of the vibration of the ship, probably caused by its huge motor, there was a kind of sound that went through the shop from left to right in a kind of rhythmical, in very interesting way. So we thought we're going to make a work with vibrating glass, but then starts a long research period. Sometimes it's short, sometimes it's extremely long, sometimes it goes very fast. But so we have an idea, and then we have a kind of problems that we have to solve, like a scientist. The only thing is we sometimes you have a very strict time level because of a commission or something. Sometimes an idea keeps in the air for a long time, and then everything comes together. But I think that is something that can happen to a scientist too. There must be a kind of sudden change in a process to make a big step forwards, that finally you find the solution. So
another question.
We know about vibration sources. We use usually electric motors that are made for industry, that have eccentric weights that turn around and cause vibration. And then if you change the frequency of this motor, and this frequency is exactly the resonant frequency of a certain construction, this construction starts to move. So that's the principle that we use in many works, but sometimes you want to have very subtle sounds. Sometimes you search especially glass, or you want to have an enormous dynamic work, like for instance our work Krachtgever. At least we want to give freedom to the work we create. It's a kind of paradox after all.
Yeah, but yeah, you start normally you start because of an experience. You had a kind of an experience in life, what you like to communicate with other people in a way, with your work. So this experience is going be like a kind of a language. You use a kind of a language, what we do with our installations or with our music machines. That is our language, and you try to have this communication with the public.
If someone comes with a completely different experience, but a good, exciting experience, fine with us too. Sometimes they're more or less surprising. You didn't think of that at all.
Yeah.
Like, especially our work, the Krachtgever, the wall with wooden crates on metal springs, which is so powerful. The most banal thing many people talk about is sex, because it moves, etc. Otherwise, maybe dancers. But maybe one of the most shocking things that happened to us was that already twice people thought if it was a monument for the Jews who were brought in the trains to the concentration camps. But it's fine. I mean, we don't want them to have especially one experience, but it's even maybe it makes the work richer if it can surprise ourselves what people make of it.
The health crisis caused by pandemic, the uncertainty, the fragility of ecological system, have they in any way changed the voices of your musical machine?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting item, because our music machines already, we talked about it before, they are like designed like being machines of no total control. So they are designed to have a part of it is this chaotic behavior, and this unpredictable behavior. So that's also, of course, what happens in nature. Well, much more than we can control it. So these kind of things in nature will happen and will continue to happen. And it's interesting that we were always busy in this part of with our machines. It's this unpredictable, in our case, physical outcomes of these machines, but there are unpredictable biological outcomes. There are unpredictable geological outcomes. So maybe this control that we think we have, we are maybe a little bit wrong in that. We think we control, but actually we control very little. We think, and there was a Dutch artist, he said our Earth is vibrating. So you think you sit still, but you don't, because the world is always vibrating. And now people had to improvise with this unpredictable thing. What was this virus, and how are we prepared for that? Because we always think we control, and it was interesting for us, because it's always the kind of an important part of our machines.
In a way, this unpredictability in life is confirming our work.
We live in a rural area, so here you have a totally different acoustic environment.
It seems you need a good landscape for create better.
Yeah. Well, it's also maybe it has to do with a kind of concentration. It's funny because many people think we make noise, and that's fine. If you want to see it as noise, that's perfect. We see it as music because in a way it's a kind of organization. So it has an organization. So we call it music. But we come, and then many people say that, and they come out of an extremely noisy environment in the city, and then they see us, and then we come from an extremely not noisy environment, and we feel it much more as music. So it's just also from what you come from and where you used to live in, and it mixes all up with our with our experience of what we hear or what we see or what we want to express. And I like it a lot also because I like the rural world, also because the way of thinking here, that people are not so they're not so influenced by all the things you see in a city around you, or you have to do, and all the texts and everybody and all these texts that say what you have to buy and what you have to do and what you don't have to do. So we don't have that here. We don't have hardly any shops. So here you have not this kind of influences. So you have to much more being creative with yourself. You have to find your solutions with yourself. So and that is the thing you see here with our neighbors. They have to invent things for themselves. They cannot go to a shop and buy something. No, you have to make it by yourself. No. And when we came here and we said, yeah, we are artists. And then when they saw our work, they said, oh, I see, you are inventors. So then, because artist was too complicated to understand. But when they saw the works, they said, oh, now I know what you do for work. You are inventors.
Yes.
And that is the way of thinking. That's also interesting in a more rural world.
Yeah, I think it's very remarkable that electronic art or computer music or all these areas that use electronics or more high tech, that's so connected to urban environments, not because nowadays with internet, small fast computers, it's not necessary to be connected to a big institute with an enormous computer that hardly fits in a room, like it was when we started. Now you can create art at any place, but maybe 90% or more of especially electronic art is made in urban environments. Well, also of course many live nowadays in the Western world, at least many more people in urban environments than rural environments. But what is so beautiful of one of the things that maybe made really progress is that now we can work with tiny apparatus anywhere. So why not in the rural world? I think it's a decision that maybe more people should make.
Bosch Simons è un duo composto dagli artisti olandesi Peter Bosch e Simone Simons. Dal 1985, dall'inizio della loro collaborazione ad Amsterdam, Bosch e Simons hanno realizzato concerti e spettacoli teatrali. Dal 1990 si sono concentrati in particolare sullo sviluppo di macchine musicali autonome. Hanno creato installazioni in musei, simposi internazionali e sale da concerto in tutto il mondo. Il Grachthever è il loro pezzo più noto per il Golden Nika, ricevuto nel 1998 al Prix Ars Electronica di Linz. Nei loro ultimi due progetti, Ultimo Sforzo Industrial e Rural, vengono riportati in vita oggetti industriali e rurali in disuso.